welcome back listeners to another episode of HTO Football's Photography Series. My name's Andrew Timbrell and today I'm joined by the very talented, up-and-coming young sports photographer, Chloe Knott. Chloe, welcome to the show. How are you? Are you well?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, very good. Thank you for having me on.
No, pleasure. We were just chatting off air beforehand about sort of the build up to this episode, and we've been speaking to some really experienced photographers that have been on the block for a few years now. Sure, I say decades, but they might be listening. You're very, very much at the start of your exciting career. It's great to have your perspective today. I guess your career has kind of really taken off in the last 2 or 3 years, right? With some great sort of accolades. You've been Champions League finals. You've been at some Olympic events. Now you're on HTO.
I know this is the absolute highlight.
It's all come up to this, hasn't it? It's just all led to this moment, really. Yeah,
it's all been for this.
But if we can just, I guess, kick it back all the way back, sort of not too many years ago now, to the right from the beginning for you. When was the first time you sort of found sport to be your not necessarily a camera, but maybe sport in general being like a passion for you?
Well, for me, it kind of came from photography. I wasn't necessarily the most. I mean, it was always the thing. You watched the Olympics when it was on. You watched Wimbledon or whatever when it was on, but it wasn't a big passion of mine. It was kind of when picking up photography, and I kind of fell into doing a bit of sports stuff. I sort of really picked up the passion for it and got interested in it. Really.
That's interesting. So was there a moment where you started to see yourself analysing how things were shot and videoed and stuff like that on screens?
I think as you sort of start off it sort of a hobby, you're like, oh, this is fun, this is interesting, this is nice, and you might get one nice picture here and there and go, oh, that was a bit of a fluke or it was skill or whatever. But but then the more you do, the more you kind of realise, oh, I kind of know what you like, you know more what to look for, and kind of realising that this is something I was really interested in doing and wanting to pursue and wanting to get better at.
Yeah, you've definitely there's a definite style to your photography. When we first started looking up who we wanted to get onto the show, we came across your page on social media, and immediately it was just such a striking style that you've got with the lighting, very dramatic. Is that something that you've sort of honed over the years, or is it quite a natural thing that you like to do in that way?
I think it's always something that kind of when I started out, that you're kind of just hearing from other very experienced photographers and people in the industry, that you kind of got to stand out and try and make yourself noticed. I mean, there's a lot of people doing it now, so there's a lot of competition, so you kind of want to make yourself stand out from the crowd, and if that's one way of doing it, then it is. But obviously I think just coming from a sort of slightly sort of artistic background, not just from a sports background, I've kind of always wanted to use that within the photography as well.
Yeah, so you had a degree in, was it theatre?
Yeah, I did. Well, it was technical theatre that I was doing at university, which is not like photography at all, but I think always having been quite artistic and doing that through college, uni and whatever, it was something that I wanted to use within photography, not sort of completely discount it. Keep that within it, really.
Yeah, you've transferred those skills over, like
yeah.
Yeah. So how did it all lead up to the point where in sort of 2018, I think it was, where you get you get like a call from your about the Olympic committee wanting you to go to?
Yeah, it literally was a phone call. I was sort of randomly stood in Tesco's and you get a random call from Switzerland going, what is this? I don't remember what this is about. But so I was kind of just sort of plugging away, doing it as sort of a hobby and trying to get more experience, and realising that kind of then at that point, realising this is really something that I would want to do and try and pursue as a career. So it was one of those things that I just randomly applied for, thought, because you'd be getting to work with such amazing photographers like Bob Martin, Simon Brutti, it's worth just putting your name out there and showing them your stuff. And then somehow randomly managed to get it, and it was a massive achievement and incredible to get. But it was a very random phone call, but
yeah, you just scan as you shop or something like that, was it? And then
it was one of those. I just minded my own business. Remember the phone went, I just dropped my basket and left it there and sort of ran out the shop. It was quite ridiculous, but yeah.
It's amazing how sport has changed some 3 years on, right?
I know, we didn't imagine it would be like this now.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken to we mentioned before, Andy and Stu on the pod, about how it's changed as an industry with the whole COVID and no fans and stuff. How has that impacted you?
I mean, massively. Like, obviously, at the beginning, there were 3-4 months where it just obviously disappeared, and we didn't know when it was going to come back, how it was going to come back, what it would look like for us when it was back. Especially kind of being so early on in my career as well, not knowing how it would impact us in sort of smaller jobs. But luckily, just to sort of come to this point and still be working in it is great, really, because there were definitely times when you're wondering if it felt like if you ever shoot a football match again or ever do anything like that again. But luckily, we're sort of still plodding along, and hopefully with a bit more of a light at the end of the tunnel now, that we should be able to get back to some level of normality soonish. I
mean, aside from the photography series, we've done a film series before, and we've also been speaking to a lot of range of guests. We spoke to Peter Drury, commentator, a few weeks back, and he was saying that you almost, in this scenario, you almost have to just look at the positive. So, for example, without any fans there, obviously there's the emotional side of his job that's not there, but then he also gets to hear what the coaches are saying, and you can hear every word the player says. So it's just, I guess, a whole different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one positive you can kind of draw from it at the moment, there's obviously been a lot of restricted access to your bigger Premier League matches, Champions League, whatever, which is kind of what we'd usually be doing day to day. But it's given us the opportunity to go to smaller grounds and do different things that we wouldn't usually get to do more featurey sort of shoots to I don't know, non-league or lower league stuff that usually you just don't sort of have the time to do, or it's not sort of the priority. But yeah, so that has been one thing that has been nice, to sort of not just always shoot, especially now shooting in big empty stadiums isn't the most, it isn't the best opportunity for pictures, really. Or so is there a
particular sport in, like, that you wake up and you can't wait to get to that venue because that's your thing, or do you just enjoy all of it?
I think I mostly enjoy all of it. I mean, there's been a lot of, I've been mainly shooting football, especially this past couple of years, so you kind of just get very used to doing that all the time. But tennis is another one that I'm absolutely love doing. Getting to do Wimbledon last year was a massive, 2 years ago, so massive highlight. And so hopefully we'd like to do more of that sort of stuff in the future.
We've spoken to Andy and Stu about the whole social media aspect of things now, and how, you know, I can take a pretty decent photo on this thing here,
like on phone,
Samsung Edge. Other phones are available, by the way, but I do think that there's something about that phenomena, isn't it, as well? Like that you can take a pretty decent picture these days. Do you feel, is that something that you're sort of aware of, that you're always trying to sort of not compete with just your sort of average person on Instagram, but as in, like, as an industry? What challenge do you think that throws at a young photographer now?
I think for our generation, especially because I came into this and social media was just a part of it. It wasn't necessarily something that we were, it wasn't, like, as you said, for Stuart, shooting for years, and then it's sort of now an added on.
Having to adapt to it.
It was just always something that was there, so it was kind of not part of the job already, or something that you're just very used to. And it's got great sides to it in terms of sort of viewing getting to see other people's work and getting to get inspiration from that, getting to put your work out there to show to other people. But I think, as you mentioned there with Stuart, on sort of a club side, and having done a few bits of work for like Man City and the FA and stuff, it is kind of more part of the job. But I think when you're like I'm, sort of an agency photographer, it's kind of, I kind of look at it as sort of the added bonus at the end. You can't get too sort of wrapped in with going, I better find something for my Instagram, or got to get something for it. You kind of you can't shoot like that, because that you're not going to be doing your job properly on the day, getting the right pictures. So I think you just have to kind of treat it as that sort of added bonus. If you get something nice and you can put it on there, great. If you don't, then you just forget about it and don't think about that, really.
I guess we're tapping into a bit of advice as well, aren't we, for sort of young photographers your age and sort of that are at uni right now that have a passion for it. What would you say, Chloe, to someone at uni now who's studying sports journalism or art or theatre, for that mind? What would you say in terms of what are the things to just stay true to yourself and values that you need?
Yeah, I'd say, as I said when I sort of started out, is definitely sort of try and find your own sort of, not your own style, but something that maybe tries and set yourself apart from the crowd, because as I said, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of young people now out there doing this. There's a whole generation coming through, but just find that thing that you really like, and sort of don't be scared to sort of try everything. Like, don't just stick to, oh, I love football and all I want to shoot is football and go to Arsenal or whatever. Try doing cricket and whatever, rock climbing, I don't know, anything random, because you never know what you might pick up shooting that smaller sport that you can then lend to doing something else, or just generally improve your photography.
It's interesting because when I was doing a bit of research into this series, really, and that was just like random Google searches, you know, like sports photos of the year 2000, 2005, 2008, because I was around then, and sadly. But it was really interesting that a lot of pictures were coming up with things like surfing and rock climbing, like you said, those sorts of sports that we don't necessarily think of in this country, do we? We think of like football and rugby, and but there's such a range of sports out there that's so great to capture, aren't there? Is there a particular, I know we mentioned earlier, but is there a particular sport that you feel suits sports photography better because of the intensity, or something like a tennis or boxing?
I mean, they all kind of, as much as it is all sort of capturing action, live action quickly, there is a lot of, there's different ways to shoot everything, like from shooting football to shooting skiing, like I was doing last January. There is a lot of different skills that you can apply to each one, really. So as much as it is all the same thing, there are different ways of doing.
So at the early stage of your career, you've how many sports, roughly, like ballpark figure, have you professionally shot?
I think having got to do a couple of like Olympic sort of events, those naturally you're doing a different sport every day, which has been great, because it really tests you, and you're, as I said, sort of lending different skills to different sports on a daily basis. So
you must be building up such a breadth of knowledge, you know, doing that. So, like,
hopefully.
I wanted to just get some of your thoughts on some quick questions, really. Go, Chloe. Counter attack on HTO. Shortest possible answers would be great. That always tends to be the challenge. That's always the challenge, trying to get them short. Not the actual questions. Right, the first one is, we always ask this to our guests: Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi.
Favorite sport to photograph? Even I've mentioned already.
Tennis.
Favorite sport to watch as a fan?
Football.
Sporting hero?
Andy Murray. There we go.
Netflix series to watch at the moment?
Oh, it's not a series, but I was going to say, kind of on the rock climbing thing, I watched, was it The Dawn Wall?
Oh yeah, I've need to see that.
Really good. Yeah.
Have you seen? You've got to watch Free Solo. I've heard of that, and that one's on my list. Yeah,
as well.
If you like Dawn Wall, you'll really like Free Solo. That's fantastic. That was actually one of my favourite sports documentaries ever. Actually, I remember watching that, thinking, this is just insane. Like,
I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, phenomenal. So I've really ruined the quick fire. And then the last question, which is a part of the furniture on HTO, you've got 3 dinner guests. Take away at yours, Chloe. In the sporting world, dead or alive, who are you inviting over?
Oh God. Well, as we've already said, Andy Murray as sporting hero. I'm gonna go with Sue Barker. So I'm sure she's got some fantastic stories to tell.
Yeah, good choice. But those two would get on really well as well.
Oh yeah, exactly.
There's a very Wimbledon theme going on here.
Oh God, yeah.
Maybe Federer, something like that.
Yeah, why not? Just have him as well. Think of anyone else.
I think it'd be quite a serious party at the moment, Chloe.
No, I need someone more entertaining.
Not that Andy and Sue are, I'm sure.
No, of course not.
No. I doubt they're listening. But...
No. Let's go with Messi, as we've already said him.
Oh, okay.
Before.
That's fair enough.
The only another name I can think of.
Yeah, that's quite a very star-studded takeaway. That is for sure. So just to wrap up, Chloe. Thanks again, obviously, for jumping on. It's been fantastic to get your perspective. Really gets a round picture for us on the series, and just all the best for the future. And
thank you
again, lastly, congratulations on your award at the Sports Journalist.
Thank you very much.
Well done for that. Onwards and upwards. If you want to follow Chloe, she's on Twitter, Instagram, and also your website, Chloe.
Yeah, that's just all links on social media.
Yeah, great. So click away, guys, and check out Chloe's fantastic work. But again, Chloe, thanks for joining us today on HTO, and all the best for the year ahead.
No worries. Thank you for having me on.
Take care.
So that is the end of our photography series, guys. A massive thank you to all of our guests, Andy Bernstein, Stuart McFarlane and Chloe Knott, and also Sam and Megan, the students who joined us for the journey. Lastly, but no means least, obviously you guys, the listeners. Thanks for tuning in. We really hope you've enjoyed the series. If you could drop us a tweet on Twitter at HTO Football with your feedback, that would be fantastic. Or even better, maybe an idea for a new series. Tom and I would be really interested to find out what you guys would like us to chat about. That's all for today, guys. See you next time. Take care.